Here is a question I just got on probably a little bit of an older video that highlights every single thing that is wrong with this whole Jubilee cycle, Dead Sea Scroll, Essene calendar conversation. It's literally the crux of the problem. Hey, Heather R., if 1406 BC marks the entry into the land, that would place us in the 70th and final Jubilee, now right. Would have started on Nisan 10 of if 1406, then 2025, yes. If that's the case, wouldn't that mean that we have a full 49-year window for prophetic fulfillment, like Daniel's 70th week, rather than it needing to start immediately in 2025? Or does Daniel's 70th week have to begin right at the start of the Jubilee or shortly after? Just trying to understand if there's room for future timing with this final Jubilee cycle. This is the detriment of this conversation, is using the word cycle. In the Bible, in Leviticus 25, there is no such thing as a Jubilee cycle. There are 7 periods of 7, number 49 years, and then in the 50th year, which is the first year of the next 7 sevens, hallowed and proclaimed Jubilee. There is no such thing as a Jubilee cycle. There is a Jubilee year, which is the 50th year of after a period of 7 sevens, and thus the first year of the next period of 7 sevens. Literally, one of the biggest detriments to the understanding of this whole timeline of the construct of the Jubilee year and how it relates to Daniel's 70 weeks of years is the introduction, it's not a conflagration. This word keeps coming into my mind, but that's not what, it's the, conflation. That's the word. Conflation of the 50th year with a cycle of 50, a period of 50. This is exactly what people do with like the Matthew 24 seals. Those are specific, related to seals 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. In Matthew 24, signs of thy coming at the end of the world. Say, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. They shall hear of wars, rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled. The end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famine, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Those are specifically related to seals 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. But people generalize what is meant to be specific and say, oh, those things have been happening, and so the seals have been open since whenever, or they're things that have been occurring over periods of time, and thus they take stuff completely out of context by generalizing what is meant to be specific. By using the word cycle instead of year, that is exactly what people have done to the detriment of understanding this whole Jubilee stuff. It is literally one of the things that I hate most about it, and I reject, and I have negative feelings about this whole Dead Sea Scroll thing as a result, because people are saying there's a cycle of 50. Okay, so when in that period of 50 could these events happen? And the Essene calendar, the Dead Sea Scroll, because it is so wildly different from any calendar the Bible ever used, or Hebrew calendar, Gregorian, it's not based on lunar solar or lunisolar. It's just some abstract thing that has no basis in anything biblical at all, but people think that it does, and that's another issue altogether. But because it got, say, 32 AD right, and potentially might have 2025 right as events pertaining to biblical things like the crucifixion of Christ, and potentially if 1406 then 2025, those things it might have correct, and so people give it way more validity than it actually has because it got certain things in certain years right. And yet how it arrived at those, the calculations that it used were wildly different. And so because there might be a little bit of validity in one area, or it got something right one time, then people have just said, oh, it's reliable and it's right and we can just do this. And so it's not a 50th year, it's a period of 50. And so when in that period of 50 could this one event happen? Well, in the 50th year, which is what the Bible says. So I understand where confusion's coming in. I understand why people are asking. I hate the Dead Sea Scroll calendar for this reason. It's not biblical, but people give it validity and they try to make it reliable beyond what it is because it may have been right one other time. So maybe 2025 is a Jubilee year based on that, but it would begin it's the end of a period of 50, and then there's another period of 50. And if you have been paying attention, you know that this isn't even what it says is the 6,000th year. Anyone who's teaching with the Essene calendar, the Dead Sea Scroll calendar, who's actually using it as a reliable, valid source of information is saying, you got another 50 years. Because this would be Hebrew year 5950. Well, they're looking at 6,000. So they're giving you another 50 years. That's not the reason why it's wrong. It's wrong for other numerous reasons. But this is one of the hugest, biggest, most massive detriments to this whole conversation, is that they will take it out of context and say it's not a 50th year, it's a period of 50. And so based on the way that this calendar works, when in that period of 50 did this other thing happen? And so we could use that as a template to say, okay, well, if it was early in that period of 50, then maybe it'll be early in the period of 50 now. There is one 50th year. There is a starting point and a way of counting to identify what that 50th year is. Keep the Bible in context, and I will always encourage you not to listen to people who don't keep the Bible in context, but you can do whatever you want and thus be confused if that's what you choose to do.